viewers, I'm so grateful to each one of you for being here with us today. We're talking about societal woes, those troubles and afflictions in our society. What are we supposed to do about them? The first thing we're supposed to do is to identify what they are so that we have a chance to pray for organizations that are doing something positive and proactive to end these woes in our society. And during this particular segment on Welcome Home, we're going to be talking about something that we have broached this subject before. It is a horrific problem in our culture, particularly in Central Florida, and that is human trafficking. And we have with us today two guests that are going to be talking about how to end this societal woe. And our first guest is Blair Pippin, who is the Associate Director of Florida Abolitionist Organization, and we're just so honored to have him with us, and he's going to be telling us what that ministry is doing to help end trafficking. And then we have a precious person who is actually a survivor, a thriver of human trafficking. Savannah Parvu is here to tell her story. How did she ever get into this mess, and how did she get out? You're going to love her story, and you're going to love this particular segment on Welcome Home. First of all, Blair, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
What a wonderful organization that is. And I want to meet Savannah, too, and have our viewers meet you in just a minute. But before we get to you, Savannah, I want Blair to tell us a little bit about what the Florida Abolitionists actually do.
So Florida Abolitionists, we're a small nonprofit organization, but we're really leading the way at ending modern-day human slavery. That is our goal. And while it exists around the world, we're starting right here in our own backyard. And there are victims of human trafficking right here in the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
And so we primarily do two things. The first is rebuilding the lives of the victims. We provide comprehensive case management for adult victims because once a person turns 18, they don't get all the state care that they could get as a minor. And we realized that there was a huge gap. Nobody was taking care of the adults.
Right.
And so we run a 24/7 hotline where we get calls daily, pretty much. Actually, today we had 5 this morning.
Wow.
And so we assist those victims and give them whatever care they need, whether that's a safe place to live, a detox from drugs, medical care, therapy, safe housing, shelter, the whole 9 yards. We make sure they have everything.
You know, Blair, before we went on the air, you and I were talking about the atrocities of human trafficking and how a lot of times people want to not believe that it exists in a culture like ours over here in the United States of America, in particular Florida, Central Florida, the happiest place on earth, and yet it does. And we did a 10-part series where we really tried to expose this horrific problem. And I think in the last year even, more and more people are understanding that it is a local problem that needs to be dealt with. Are you finding that people are more understanding that this is really relevant to them right here?
It is growing, definitely. Awareness is growing, and that's an important thing, preventing the crime and identifying it. Because if, for example, if teenagers know that this is happening here and know what these traffickers are doing to try to lure them in, then they'll be able to say no and stay away and stay safe. And also, more people will be able to identify and will be able to help them sooner and get out of those situations.
So define for us, Blair, what really is trafficking? What does that mean? It's not, a lot of people think, well, these are just prostitutes that are out on the street. It's not prostitution. What is it?
Correct. It's anytime someone is manipulated or forced or coerced into doing that, and it could be prostitution. Sex trafficking, for example, is really any type of sexual exploitation. So it may be prostitution, but it may be pornography or stripping as well. And then you also have labor trafficking, where people are forced to work in farms and factories, restaurants, nail salons, that type of thing as well.
Do you have numbers for what it looks like in Central Florida or even Florida?
The main number that we go with in that we know we can trust, because there's not one central reporting agency that gets everything. But Florida is the 3rd state in the nation for calls to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And so we know that. And I know our numbers. I can tell you that just last year in 2016, we assisted 275 victims of human trafficking, which most of those were from right here in Central Florida.
And those are 275 people that you helped get out of trafficking, but we don't know how many more are in trafficking that you haven't obviously rescued yet.
If we knew who they were and where they were, we would be able to get them out. Right.
So is that your biggest challenge? Trying to find and identify them?
That's part of the challenge. I think another big challenge is in our culture, people are treated as objects. And so if someone is willing to use another person for their own gain, whether that's financial or for their own pleasure, then they're exploiting these young people. And so I think that's our biggest problem, and it isn't just trafficking, but it's pornography. It's even goes back to bullying, where I'm willing to treat you poorly so that I feel better about myself, or so that I get what I want. And so it really permeates society, this culture that we have. And so I think that if we would treat people as images of God, then all of this would be gone.
We wouldn't even be having this conversation. That would be wonderful. I want to talk more about Florida abolitionists, but I want our viewers to meet you, Savannah, and to hear a little bit about your story, because once somebody gets rescued, Blair rescues a person or whoever it is, there's a long recovery in there, and there are lots of components to that we'll talk about. But first, I want to know a little bit about you, who you were. Who is Savannah Parvu as a little girl?
Well, both of my parents were drug addicts and alcoholics when I was growing up. I have two older brothers that are 8 and 10 years older than me. So when I started school, they were already teenagers. And then my dad had a stroke when I was 9 that left him disabled. And after that, my mom got involved in more drugs and was always going out with different people, and she would take me with her to drug houses and stuff.
This was your natural childhood. You didn't think anything about it because this was normal to you, right?
Yeah. Okay. And before I started school, I was always told not to tell anybody what happens or I'll be taken to a bad place.
Wow. And you didn't know where that bad place was?
No.
Is this your mom or your dad telling you
My
this?
mom.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
where does your mother get the money for drugs?
She would prostitute herself.
Okay. Did you know this?
Yeah.
Did you see men coming in and out of your house all the time?
Well, we would go to their houses.
Oh, you would go to their houses. Okay.
Yeah.
At what age, Savannah, do you think you had an understanding of what was going on with your mom?
When I was about 11.
Oh, break my heart. You were going to break my heart here. You know that. That was your childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So your mother's taking drugs. Your mother is prostituting herself. Does she ever want to involve you personally in any of this for financial gain?
Not until I was 11, and I was with her at one of the drug houses, and they offered her $10 for me instead of her.
And you did that?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember about that day?
Well, I couldn't believe that she did it, but I asked her about it, and she said, well, now I don't have to do anything, and they can just have you.
Mm-hmm. Does this break your heart? Does it hurt you? Does it make you mad? How are you dealing with this as an 11-year-old child?
Well, then I didn't have a choice.
Okay. But are you mad about it, or are you just...
Not now.
Not yet, okay, because you're just a little girl.
Yeah.
And men are violating you. They're having intercourse with you at 11 years of age. Is there any kind of protection?
No.
Against diseases?
No.
Against pregnancy?
No.
No protection. Does this happen one time a night, one time a week, multiple times?
It really just depended. Like after that, she would take me and drop me off, or they would come and get me, and then they would sell me to other people.
So you told me, Savannah, before we went on the air, that you got into cutting. I'm sure the cutting was maybe a release from all the pain of having to deal with men violating you, that you start cutting yourself to what?
Well, I did it for the first time because I watched both of my parents do it when I was 13. They tried to commit suicide by cutting their wrist, and I went to foster care. And I did it the first time to see what it felt like when they did it. And then it kind of became an addiction to where every time I got upset or angry, I would cut myself. and it would help with the emotional pain.
So you understood. You've probably had counseling, many, many years of counseling, right?
Not until I was an adult.
Okay, but as an adult getting counseling, you know now, back then, why you were doing that. You were trying to escape the pain and to just physically inflict pain on yourself.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about killing yourself?
I tried several times.
Yeah. So your dad died?
No.
No, okay.
He was disabled after a stroke, and he's not able to communicate.
Okay, so you don't have any kind of relationship with him today?
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, what about with your mom?
No.
Are you angry?
No.
No? You just don't know where she is, or?
I know where she is. She's actually in hospice care right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I don't have a relationship with her, but I'm not angry at her.
Okay.
Because the anger was only causing me harm and not her. Mm-hmm. And no matter what would happen to her, it's not going to take away what she did to me.
You are very wise young lady. Plus the fact that I don't know what your mother came from herself. You know, maybe she didn't have other choices in what she did and how she was raised. Did you have grandparents or anybody else in your life that could be role models for you?
No.
No. So we don't know. You don't really know how your mother was brought up.
Not really.
Okay. Is this typical, Blair? Is this story, Savannah's story, have you heard this 100 times?
Stories of parents selling their children is less frequent, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen as frequently
in this
with
country.
Family members.
In other countries, it happens all the time.
That's very true.
Right?
That's very true.
So what is the typical story?
The typical story, if there is one, because every case is different, but many times it's someone that does have a difficult background, that has a vulnerability that the trafficker can exploit.
Yeah.
So that could be poverty, but in many cases it's an emotional. They run away to get away from an abusive situation at home. They're on the streets. They have nowhere to go, and then the trafficker can come in and say, "Hey, I'll take care of you. I'll give you everything you need," but with many strings attached.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you next, Savannah, was about all these men who were, or not all of the men who were violating you, rather the man that was the trafficker. What do they call him? The John or the pimp or the what?
He would be the pimp.
He would be the pimp. Okay. So does he become a father figure to you, or is he someone you're scared to death of?
No, he's somebody that I was scared of and didn't want to go with.
So what did you think he would do to you?
Well, I watched him do stuff to other people, and
Like what?
He's murdered a couple of people.
You saw that?
Yeah, people that tried to help me.
Okay.
And so I was always afraid, and when I didn't fight, it wasn't as bad for me.
Yeah. So you became a willing, compliant, kind of quiet little girl, right?
Yeah.
How many years did this go on?
It went on for 2 years with my mother, but then continued when I went to foster care.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're in foster care, and you have these foster parents who supposedly are there to take care of you. Are they allowing you to get trafficked, or did the guy come after you in your foster home?
Well, I was in group homes, and I was moved around a lot because of the cutting, and they didn't deal with kids who cut because it wasn't as common then.
They didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, and so the staff at one of the group homes was friends with my mom's drug dealers.
And so did your foster parents ever know what was going on with you, or the different group home parents?
Yeah, they're the ones who would take me.
They were okay with all this?
Yeah.
That is just unbelievable, Savannah. I mean, I hear you and I believe you, but I can't even imagine. So at what point do you get out of being trafficked?
Well, my oldest brother got custody of me when I was 15, and he couldn't really deal with me because I hadn't had counseling or anything. But I ended up becoming friends with my high school guidance counselor, who I ended up living with her and her family, and she's the one who introduced me to church and stuff.
Good. So at 15, now let me just go back a little bit. When your brothers were living at home, were either of your brothers sexually abusing you?
No.
No? Okay, so you didn't have any incestuous kind of relationships within the home other than a mother that sells you. So now you have this understanding of who Jesus is at 15.
Well, not really at 15.
Okay.
It was.
So you're still being trafficked at 15?
No, it stopped for a while because I was
Okay.
living with her and her family
Okay.
and going to church, but I didn't surrender my life to the Lord until I was 22.
Okay. How old are you now?
I just turned 30.
Wow. Wow. You got some good genes there, girl. You look great. So you are now at age 30. Looking back on all this, what kind of advice would you give to young girls out there who are maybe even being pursued, what do they call it, groomed by men who are traffickers? They're coming into their life, trying to gain their trust. What would you say to girls out there today?
Well, I remember the biggest thing for me is I wanted to know that it was possible to thrive afterwards, that there was hope, that didn't have to be my, because counseling and stuff, it's hard, and I questioned if it was worth it because I had to deal with all the emotional pain that I would just cut myself so that I didn't have to deal with. Yeah. And I wanted to see that somebody else had been through what I had and was doing well, so that I wanted to know that I could have a future. Yeah. And so that's my biggest thing, is knowing that no matter what's happened to you or what you've done, it doesn't have to define your future.
That is beautifully said. So you want young women and men, I guess, out there, young guys and girls, to know that you're not defined by what you've done or what anybody's done to you, but we are all children of the Lord, and that God can make something beautiful out of a horrific situation. I can't imagine what you've been through. And I just praise God, Savannah, for your life and for your boldness in telling your story. Is it hard to talk about even now?
Not really now.
Okay, good. You've detached yourself from it, do you think, or what?
Well, I haven't detached myself, but I know that telling my story helps other people share theirs.
Absolutely, it does. Well, it gives everybody an understanding of someone who has suffered. And, you know, there could be somebody out there today, Savannah, who has a little 11-year-old girl living next door to them, or an 11-year-old girl sitting next to them in a pew at church, that they're thinking, there's something going on. There's something not quite right about this situation. If you had had somebody savvy like that in your life who could recognize, you would probably be crying out and nobody heard you cry.
Yeah, I would ask my teachers for detention at school so that I wouldn't have to go home. And they would let me stay, but they never asked why I didn't want to go home.
And you would have told them if they had just asked?
I think I would have.
Yeah, even though you were afraid of the guy and all that, but you just were begging for somebody to hear you and to listen to your story.
Yeah.
Well, now that you've been through it, I just want you to know that those years were not wasted. What man meant for bad, God means for good. Because look at what you're doing now, and look at the lives that you're impacting because of your courage in coming forward and telling your story. And God is making something beautiful out of your life. Blair, the recovery, the healing, she's obviously, Savannah, has either healed or is in the healing. Maybe you're healing forever. I don't know. What does recovery look like for the Savannahs that are out there?
Right. They need a lot of care because most of them suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorders, or PTSD, like somebody coming back from war. It's so much trauma. And so they need community around them. They need people to be praying for them, but a lot of therapy, as well as many do need to have a safe home where they can live and be in community with other people, but continually have people in their lives that are helping them rebuild as they deal with the triggers and the things that take them back to that moment.
What can we do as viewers to come alongside Florida Abolitionists? You were talking about a kind of a monthly event that maybe we can get involved in?
Yes, we have a monthly gathering event where we bring together Christians from around the community to come together around this issue. and we worship together and
Nice.
learn more about the issue, because this is something that we've just barely touched on it today.
Right.
And so we need to get more educated. So
Yes,
you can
we
learn
do.
more about it at the gathering, as
Good.
well as connect with other people who share your heart for justice and to end modern day human slavery in our community. So
Well,
we would
thank
love to
you.
have people come to that. And
Well, they can go to that website that's on our screen right now, Blair, Pippin, to
Absolutely.
find out more about human trafficking and about your organization. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing to help so many different people. And Savannah, you're my hero today, hero of the day. You're amazing. Thank God for your life and for what He's going to continue to do with you and through you. So thanks for being so bold today and being with us.
You're welcome.
And thank you, viewers, for being here with us. We've got more, so you don't want to go away. Stay with us.